This episode is sponsored by Arqueo Gato Tours. Want to dig deeper into Mexico's indigenous past and present? Allow Arqueo Gato Tours to customize your Yucatan adventure. Arqueo Gato works hand in hand with local indigenous guides to provide a tour that is entertaining, educational, and beneficial to the local community. For an adventure like no other, check out arqueogato.com. That's ARKEOGATO.com. Or just follow the link in the show notes. Now, on with the show.
You must excuse me. I've grown quite weary.
This hasn't been easy, I know. But you've learned a lesson. A lesson in honesty. Honesty to yourself and honesty to others. That lesson will stand you in good stead all your life.
I think we've all learned a good lesson. I've always heard that honesty is the best policy. Now I'm catching on to why that's so, 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 to why that's so.
Greetings, dear listeners, and welcome to Tales from Atlantis, where we explore the fascinating worlds of Chicano, Mexicano, and Mesoamerican history and archaeology, while also challenging the myths and misinformation that surround them. We are your hosts, Curly Tlapoyawa.
And Ruben Arellano Tlacatecat.
What's going on, Dr. Tlacatecat? How are you?
Wrapping up the semester.
Feel good?
Close to the end, yeah.
Crunch time?
It's been a long semester, and I'm kind of ready for a break.
Yeah. Yeah, how long of a break do you get?
Well, I mean, roughly between the middle of December to late January, so just over a month, like five weeks or so, something like that.
It's not bad.
Yeah, but I'm going to be teaching a class over the winter term. It's going to be online, so it's not too bad. I don't have to show up to campus to do that, so I'll be doing it from home.
Which class are you teaching?
I think I'm signed up for a 1301 class, so that's American history, the first part, the first half.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's students that, usually the students that take these short-term courses like the May term or the summer 1, summer 2, are either students from other institutions like around the state that are just trying to load up on their credit so they can graduate that, by the end of the fall term or the end of the summer. Or it's students that just, they're just trying to take all their core curriculum courses and move on if they're transferring to like a 4-year. And so they want to get all their core subjects out of the way. And it's usually more like working students, students.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's not your traditional straight out of high school or dual credit students. We teach a lot of dual credit students, meaning for those people that don't know what dual credit means, it's students who are still in high school and they're taking college credit courses, and they're getting both the college credit and they're getting the high school credit in one class. So,
what kind of students are those? Like,
I don't even want to get into it. No,
all right,
not now.
So that answers my question.
Not now.
Well, let me tell you about something, man. I have a bone to pick with Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Oh,
because I've been working on a project down there. I'm running an excavation of a Jornada Mogollon site, and it's about 30 minutes outside of Las Cruces, but we're staying in Las Cruces.
Yeah.
And in the time that I've been there, when I do go out, I venture outside of the hotel, there's just people talking mad amounts of shit about Albuquerque everywhere I go, about how dangerous it is and how they don't feel safe here and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But in the time I've been in Las Cruces, I've been in a hit and run. So I've been without a vehicle for like 2 weeks while it gets repaired because they fucked my 4Runner up bad.
Wow.
There have been multiple murders while I've been there. And somebody did a drunk driving crash where they like flipped their car like into the plaza. And I'm like, I feel way safer. Nobody's ever hit and run me in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
And the person that did this, they hit my vehicle. So I come out of the restaurant and my 4Runner is shifted completely sideways in the parking lot. So immediately I'm like, oh shit, what happened?
So this was in the parking lot? Like not even on
in
the
the parking lot. So this guy backed up with the trailer because they got it all on camera, right? Hit my 4Runner, kept going, pushed my 4Runner into the car next to me. So I collided with them as well, and then kept going and hit a third vehicle and pushed us all sideways. And apparently they even hit a fourth vehicle, but the driver of the fourth vehicle split because they had warrants.
Oh.
And they didn't want to be around when the cops showed up.
Damn. This reminds me one time we were at a shopping center, and this is a very treacherous entry exit from a main thoroughfare. And you had one car coming, trying to enter into the strip mall, and the other one coming out, and they both kind of missed it. And so they collided. But I guess they were both wanted or something because after they hit, they both split in separate directions. So like they both collide, and as soon as they collide,
Classy.
they just both split. So I'm like, okay.
Well, that resolved itself.
Yep.
So the guy that did the wrecking has actually been trying to contact me
What?
and ask me, hey man, don't turn it into your insurance. I'll just pay cash. I'm like, man, fuck you, bro. Like,
Well, wait a minute. How much cash are we talking about?
well, I just don't like people who have enough money where they think they could just buy their way out of the repercussions.
You have morals and ethics.
I try.
Okay.
So I'm like, no, I don't know you. Like maybe if it was like a homie of mine or something, obviously, but they wouldn't hit and run me. But if I did get into a wreck with a friend of mine and they offered cash, that's different than some stranger in the middle of the night wrecking 4 different vehicles and then taking off. And when I went inside to tell, because, I walked back inside the restaurant and I'm like, hey, I need to find out who drives these other vehicles because somebody just fucked our shit up. And they were all laughing, the people in there, and they're like, oh, that must have been so-and-so. Yeah, he was all fucked up when he left. And I'm like, God damn it.
So they're just laughing about it?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, it's just what's his name? Not a big deal.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Is that what they told me?
Yeah.
Nah, he's a good guy. He's just probably has warrants or something.
Yeah,
and
but he's a good guy.
But he's a good guy. But Albuquerque's the issue, by the way.
It's Albuquerque, yeah.
Getting back to my main point,
Right.
all this shit talking about Albuquerque, yet this place is like freaking Rwanda. So,
Damn. Yeah. Well, when I was in El Paso, they would say the same thing about Albuquerque. Like, you don't, because they would ask me, like, whenever I'd go visit you, like, where are you going this weekend? I'm going out to Albuquerque. What? That's dangerous.
yeah, it's dangerous.
Compared to El Paso?
Are you sure? Are you sure about that?
What are we doing here?
Anyway, I was inspired to write this script, this episode about the blowouts or the walkouts. What did you grow up hearing them called? I always heard them called the blowouts.
The walkouts. Because we had our own walkouts when I was in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, so we call them the walkouts.
So, because you had mentioned on a past episode about how history is under threat of being rewritten and transformed and manipulated and deleted. So I thought it would be important to shed some light on some important Chicano history and part of our past and put it on the record, as they like to say, so that, 30 years from now, when we're fighting mutants for gasoline in the apocalyptic wasteland, we could we could tune into the podcast and be like, oh, wow, Chicanos did this.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Chicanos? What's a Chicano? What's that?
Yeah, right. Ladies and gentlemen, non-binary listeners, we bring to you Rise Up, Walk Out. It was March 1968, and East L.A. was ready to explode. The city didn't know it yet. Hell, the country didn't know it. But a brown revolution, was about to burst forth out of its high schools. Over the course of a single week, up to 22,000 Chicano students, most of them teenagers, some still clutching textbooks and brown paper lunch bags, stood up, turned their backs on the chalkboards, and walked out. Their message was clear. They were tired of being treated as second-class citizens in the school system. The East L.A. Walkouts, also known as the Chicano Blowouts, marked the first major youth-led protest of the Chicano movement. The walkouts forced mainstream America to confront a question that had long been ignored. Why were Mexican-American students being denied an equal education? The Los Angeles public school system in the 1960s was a machine designed to break Chicanos into manageable labor. By the time you hit high school, you were already labeled mechanic, secretary, janitor. You weren't supposed to dream. You were supposed to obey. And my uncles and my mom went through this. Like, I remember them telling me the stories. My mom being like, asked, hey, so what are your plans after high school? And she listed all this stuff. And her teacher was straight up like, you should be a secretary. So, yeah, it's not that long ago. Right. In predominantly Chicano neighborhoods like Boyle Heights, Lincoln Heights, and East L.A., schools were overcrowded, underfunded, and soaked in neglect. 60%, let me repeat that, 60% of Mexican-American students dropped out before graduating. The ones who did make it out with a diploma often read at an 8th grade level. The system wasn't broken, it was built that way. Vocational tracking was the scam of the century. The white kids were groomed for college. The brown ones got shuttled into auto shop or clerical courses. The message was clear. You are not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. Teachers punished kids for speaking Spanish, their native tongue, the language of their parents and grandparents, treated like an obscenity. Some mocked indigenous ancestry outright, laughing at Aztec names as if they were punchlines. In the worst cases, administrators pushed Mexican-American children into remedial programs meant for the developmentally disabled. You think that's an exaggeration? Well, listen to this one. A teacher named Richard Davis from Lincoln High once wrote, and we quote,
"Most Chicanos have never had it so good. Before the Spanish came, he was an Indian grubbing in the soil, and after the Spaniards came, he was a slave. It seems to me that America must be a very desirable place. Witness the number of wetbacks and migrants, both legally and illegal, from Mexico."
What an asshole. Right. Hey, Richard Davis, if you're still alive, fuck you. And even if you're not alive, fuck you. Fuck you twice. Jeez. This wasn't some fringe crank writing from his parents' basement. This was a teacher, the kind of man who graded the minds of brown children. So yeah, the schools were like mini prisons with chalkboards. It was against this backdrop of institutional racism and neglect that a generation of Chicano students began to question why they were being denied opportunities their white peers took for granted. This growing sense of injustice propelled them to demand change. Across the country, the civil rights movement was challenging racial segregation, while college students organized sit-ins and demonstrations against the Vietnam War. Inspired by these struggles, young Chicanos began to articulate their own vision of justice. In East L.A., Sal Castro, a charismatic and dedicated Lincoln High School social studies teacher, was instrumental in that awakening. To Castro, education meant empowerment. He encouraged his students to take pride in their culture, question authority, and demand better for their community. Castro was also a central organizer for the Chicano Youth Leadership Conference, or the CYLC, an annual retreat founded in 1963 at a Jewish summer camp in Malibu. Each year, hundreds of Mexican-American students from East L.A. schools attended the conference, where they learned about Mexican and Mexican-American history, subjects that their schools ignored. For many students, the experience was transformative.
We'll be back after a quick break.
This episode of Tales from Astlantis is brought to you by Astlantis Premium. Don't you just hate having your favorite podcast interrupted by ads like this? Well, dear listener, you're in luck. Because starting at just $3 a month, you can support independent Chicano media and receive ad-free episodes, premium episodes, bonus content, and access to our Discord server. Just visit talesfromastlantis.com and click Go Premium, or follow the link in the show notes. And now, on with the show.
Seeing, listening, and being proud of all those accomplishments really helped the students think critically about their own families,
said Dr. Valerie Talavera Bustillos, a professor of Chicano studies at Cal State L.A.
They began to ask, why should we put up with these things?
At the conference, students like Moctezuma Esparza and Victoria Vicky Castro discovered their voices. Both would go on to play critical roles in organizing the 1968 walkouts. Moctezuma Esparza's path to activism began in 1965 after attending a CYLC retreat. Energized by what he learned, he helped form Young Citizens for Community Action, a group of politically minded Chicano teenagers determined to fight for equality. The group later evolved into Young Chicanos for Community Action and eventually became known as the Brown Berets, a militant organization loosely modeled after the Black Panther Party. After graduating from high school in 1967, Esparza attended UCLA, where he co-founded United Mexican American Students, or UMAS. The group's goal, to increase Chicano enrollment in colleges and universities. But UMAS didn't just limit itself to campus issues. Members fanned out into local high schools, Garfield, Roosevelt, Lincoln, Belmont, Wilson, mentoring students and encouraging them to think critically about the injustices they faced. Garfield High, for example, had a 58% dropout rate, the highest in the city. At Roosevelt, it was 45%. The connection between poor conditions rooted in systemic racism and Chicano academic failure was undeniable. Esparza and others believed that only a bold, collective action could force the school district to confront these inequalities. Sal Castro agreed with this approach. Inspired by the tactics of the civil rights and anti-war movements, Castro urged his students to consider a walkout, a mass strike that would draw public attention to their cause. Organizing intensified by late February 1968, with meetings at local coffee shops and community centers, most notably La Piranha, a popular hangout run by David Sanchez and Vicky Castro of the Brown Berets. Castro, a UCLA graduate who had grown up in East L.A., understood the power of education. Vicky had seen the inside of those broken schools, the cracked walls, the overcrowded classes, the teachers who thought she was just another brown girl who would disappear into the city's service economy.
This is where I got my voice,
she would later recall.
This is where my passion for justice was born in me. It changed my whole being.
And so the list of demands took shape. Bilingual education, smaller classes, Chicano teachers, Mexican American history courses, better facilities, basic humanity on paper. All that remained was to light the fuse. The first spark came unexpectedly. On March 1st, 1968, students at Wilson High walked out after the principal canceled a school play he considered too risque. And I've looked, and I'm sure it's out there what the play was, but I can't find what the play was that got canceled. Between 200 and 300 students participated in what was meant to be a small act of defiance. But it was enough. 4 days later, on March 5th, roughly 2,000 students at Garfield High staged the first planned walkout. As students poured into the streets, police were called in to restore order. The next day, the movement spread to Roosevelt, Lincoln, and Belmont high schools, where administrators locked gates and called police to block exits. Students scaled fences, broke through the gates, and marched out, chanting, "Viva la raza."
Que viva.
She gave me chills. Over the next week, walkouts erupted at Jefferson and Venice high schools as well. By mid-March, more than 15,000 to 20,000 students had joined the protest, making it one of the largest high school demonstrations in U.S. history. Importantly, students timed their walkouts before attendance was taken, depriving the school district of daily attendance funds and amplifying the economic pressure. So that was pretty smart. That was a good strategy. Among those on the front lines was Carlos Montes, a student at East L.A. College and a founding member of the Brown Berets. 2 years earlier, Montes had nearly dropped out of Garfield High himself.
The vice principal called me in to sign up for the selective service when I was 18.
He remembered.
The teachers only cared about the elite intellectuals. The rest of us were just shuffled through.
On March 6th, Montes and several others drove to Lincoln High to support the walkouts.
At 10 a.m., we ran into the school yelling, "Walkout!"
He recalled.
The principal came out and asked, "What are you doing?" We said, "Get out of the way. This is business. This is a walkout."
Right on. Later that day, Montes and other Brown Berets helped students at Roosevelt High tear down a locked gate to join the protest. Undercover officers photographed the scene. Montes was detained briefly for distributing flyers, but he refused to be intimidated. On March 11th, students, parents, and teachers, calling themselves the Educational Issues Coordinating Committee, or the EICC, attempted to present a list of 39 formal demands to the Los Angeles Board of Education, but the board's response was dismissive. When they finally discussed the demands on March 28th, officials claimed that while some proposals were commendable, there simply weren't enough funds to implement them. For the students, the message was clear. The system wasn't going to change willingly. Instead of reform, the city responded with repression. On March 31st, 1968, police arrested Sal Castro and 12 other organizers, dubbed the East L.A. 13, charging them with conspiracy to disturb the peace and other crimes. And defending the East L.A. 13 in court was none other than Oscar Zeta Acosta, the Brown Buffalo himself, the same wild-eyed Chicano attorney who would later stumble into infamy alongside Hunter S. Thompson in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Acosta saw the blowouts for what they were, a full-throated roar of a people waking up. Their arrests sparked outrage. Hundreds of community members picketed the Hall of Justice, and sit-ins were held at school board meetings demanding Castro's reinstatement. Students carried signs reading,
"Free Sal Castro,"
and
"Education, not incarceration."
After 2 months in custody, the defendants were released on June 2nd, 1968, and all charges were eventually dropped in 1970. Castro was reinstated as a teacher after sustained community pressure. Even though the walkouts didn't immediately transform the schools, they succeeded in something powerful. They helped awaken a generation. The East L.A. walkouts represented a fundamental shift in the Chicano struggle, from the rural labor organizing of Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta's United Farm Workers to an urban fight for educational and cultural empowerment. Carlos Montes would later reflect.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Have you picked up your Mexica calendar for the year 12 Flint? Or how about a paperback copy of The Four Disagreements? Just visit talesfromastlantis.com for all the latest merchandise and show some love for your favorite podcast. That's talesfromatlantis.com for all the latest merchandise. Now, back to the show.
It put us on the map. It energized the community and radicalized a new generation of Chicano activists.
Many of the young leaders who participated in the blowouts went on to play central roles in later movements. Some became educators and professors, while others pursued careers as artists, filmmakers, and community organizers. Moctezuma Esparza went on to become a prominent film producer, using cinema to tell Chicano stories. Vicky Castro served on the Los Angeles Unified School Board, shaping the very system she once protested. 2 years later, on August 29, 1970, many of the same activists helped organize the Chicano Moratorium against the Vietnam War, the largest anti-war demonstration in Los Angeles history. So yeah, the immediate effects of the walkouts were modest. Class sizes remain large, and bilingual education remained a controversial issue, but the symbolic impact was monumental. For the first time, Chicano youth had asserted themselves as agents of change rather than passive victims of discrimination.
It taught us that the only way things can change is by protesting and challenging the system,
said Montes. The walkouts also led to concrete gains in the following decades. Bilingual education programs expanded in California schools. Chicano studies departments were established at universities like UCLA, Cal State L.A., and UC Santa Barbara. And political representation grew as former student activists entered public office and community leadership. Perhaps most importantly, the walkouts changed how Chicano students saw themselves. No longer were they ashamed of their language or indigenous heritage. They were proud of it. More than half a century later, the East L.A. walkouts remain a cornerstone of Chicano history. They are studied in classrooms, depicted in films and documentaries, and commemorated in murals throughout Los Angeles. For scholars like Valerie Talavera Bustillos, their importance lies not only in what they achieved, but in what they inspired.
Those students who walked out really gave back. They became professors, activists, and leaders in their communities. They changed the narrative.
The story of the East LA walkouts reminds us that change often begins with the courage of young people, those willing to stand up, speak out, and demand a better future. And in 1968, Chicano students did exactly that. Their defiance reshaped the city of Los Angeles, transformed the national conversation about education, and helped define what it meant to be Chicano in modern America. A generation unchained itself from the machinery of a racist system, and in doing so, gave birth to a movement that would echo across decades. So here's to the kids who walked out. Here's to Sal Castro and the Brown Berets. Here's to Oscar Zeta Acosta, the Mad Buffalo in the courtroom. And here's to the 22,000 Chicanas and Chicanos who dared to say no. And in that refusal, found themselves. Because in 1968, for one furious, beautiful week, the Chicano kids of East L.A. didn't just demand education. They took it. Chicano power.
Chicano power, baby.
Hell yeah.
Very good.
Thank you. I get all emotional reading shit like that.
I don't think a lot of people understand the role that Oscar Zeta Acosta played in all this.
No.
Like, they just know of him because of the books. They know of him because of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. They know of him because he disappeared. No one really knows what happened to him. I think there's his family thinks that he might have suffered an episode because towards the end, before he disappeared, he was having episodes related to some of his health conditions where he would have hallucinations and things. And he was also like a diabetic and he abused drugs, unfortunately.
Yeah, a lot.
And he had bleeding ulcer that like
ulcer.
plagued him his entire life.
And so there's among his family, they think that he went to Mexico and he gave the excuse that he was going to be meeting with some folks, but he basically just went to die and without telling anyone what really happened. So, because there was no body that was ever recovered, or no one that ever came out to say, yeah, it was us. We did it for whatever reason. So that I think that's kind of the story behind him. But like he is credited. I saw a documentary some years ago. I think it might have been like 10 years ago at this point, like when it came out, that they did on him. And the way that the documentarian presented the information about him in his early years, they were kind of making him out to be, and I don't know if this is true or not, but they're kind of making him out to be one of the first kind of more prominent people in the community that not only identified publicly as Chicano, but that sort of was already thinking along the lines of doing Chicano activism through his lawyering and his activities in the community and things like that. So even before the Chicano movement becomes the Chicano movement, like Oscar's already doing Chicano stuff. Like he's headed in that direction. He was kind of like spearheading what was to come. And so, I mean, props to Oscar for being that person.
And I still haven't seen that documentary. It's like, it's on my list, but for a while it was really hard to find. Like, I think Vimeo is the only place where you could find it right now, and you have to rent it. So
I think I saw it on the local public channel,
PBS, right?
PBS.
Yeah, PBS played it for like a week, I think. Yeah. But I missed it. And what's great about him is he was very adamant about only defending Chicanos. Like, that was his point of pride. He was like, I'm only going to take cases that are for my people.
Right.
And he moved, I think he was living in San Francisco because he went to the Air Force, right? Got out of the Air Force, used the GI Bill to go to college, and that's where he got his law degree. And then immediately just started like, all right, I'm going to put this to work for my people. And it's a drag because a lot of people are still surprised when I tell them that, no, he was Dr. Gonzo in Fear and Loathing.
Right. They don't understand it.
Because he calls him a 300-pound Samoan in the book, right?
Yeah.
And he calls himself Raul, what does he call himself? Raul Duke.
Duke, yeah.
And the reason he did that, like, Oscar was actually pissed. And he's like, dude, what the fuck? Why are you calling me a Samoan?
Right.
And Hunter S. Thompson responded with like, well, you're in the bar, bro. Like, you're a member of the bar. And we're doing a lot of really illegal shit in this book.
He was trying to protect his identity.
Yeah, yeah. And Oscar was like,
I mean,
nah,
that's
man.
what you do as a writer too. Like, unless it's nonfiction, right? But when you're even, like, if you're doing an anthropological study and if you're interviewing someone and you're going to use their story, like, you have to get permission from them to use their name if they want their name used. Otherwise, you have to anonymize it and you have to
give them a pseudonym
a pseudonym, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if what's his name, Hunter S. Thompson, if he asked Oscar if he could use his name or not. I think at the time, because they were sharing a lot of ideas and they were kind of like besties, right? In a sense, right? They went on this road trip.
Yeah, they were boys.
So I guess Thompson figured he could just use his story, change his name.
Probably.
It'd be cool with what happened, right? But I guess not. No. Because it did have a falling out towards the end.
Yeah.
I think the falling out was mainly Oscar criticizing Thompson for being someone who came from privilege, and he had the privilege to be able to do a lot of the stuff that he did, and he could find some kind of security and recourse if something happened with his family because they had money at least, and Oscar didn't have that. And so he I don't know if it came from a position of resentment or just from a position of him acknowledging that this guy has privilege, I don't, right? So here you are doing all this stuff, and you're doing it not because you come from a broken family or from an oppressed community, but you're doing it because just for the sake of doing it, because you have the privilege to do it, right? So I think there was a little bit of that going on with Oscar too.
Yeah, there's a great photo that somebody shared with me online of, and I'd seen this photo before. It's of Oscar Zeta Acosta walking down the street, and he has Moctezuma Esparza with him. But there was like these two other people in the photo that I didn't know who they were, and it turns out that they were two guys from northern New Mexico who had went to the Chicano moratorium and got in trouble, and Oscar was like helping them out with their case. And so I thought that was a cool little story. Yeah, man, Oscar was a trip. I want to do like a whole episode on just him because, you know, the whole reason Fear and Loathing even got written was because Hunter S. Thompson was in L.A. doing a story about the murder of Ruben Salazar.
Yeah, right.
And Oscar was going to be like one of his main like points of contact with
informant.
Yeah, and helping him, you know, get interviews with people, but nobody trusted Hunter S. Thompson. They're all like, "Well, who's this gabacho writer that's like hanging out with Oscar all the time?"
Yeah.
And so Hunter S. Thompson was like, "Well, hey, I got this." He's like, I had to get him alone so that we could talk about the story, and I'd had this assignment from Rolling Stone to go cover this race in Las Vegas. So I was like, "Hey, why don't you come with me?" And like that just kicked off, you know, that whole story.
Right.
And then he eventually wrote the piece, Strange Rumblings in Aztlan, which is specifically about Ruben Salazar.
He's trying to make the record straight, right? Like keep a semblance of balance between his fictional and his non-fictional writing.
Yeah, because with that dude, with both of those guys, it's hard to separate myth from reality. Because I remember on this Facebook group, somebody asked, "Hey, I'm teaching this Intro to Chicano Studies class. Does anybody have recommendations for like novels written by Chicanos about the movement?" And I'm like, Revolt of the Cockroach People. Like,
exactly.
That's book number 1.
And then there's
this
the other
professor,
one, The Autobiography of a Brown Buffalo.
Yeah, Autobiography of a Brown Buffalo.
That one came first, right?
72,
and then the other one, 73.
And so this Chicano studies professor was like, "I don't know if my students can handle that. They might be easily offended or blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Well, isn't that your job as the professor to like contextualize this and I don't know, maybe learn from somebody who was actually there?" I mean, you know what he talks about having sex and doing drugs in the book, and what is that?
Like they don't get this on TV or the media, movies. Like, please give me a break.
But everybody, did you ever see the movie Walkout?
Yeah, I did. When it came out.
What'd you think of it?
I mean, it was informative. I think wasn't it done by Esparza? Moctezuma Esparza didn't do
I think Edward James almost directed it, and Esparza might have produced it.
Okay. I mean, for a movie that was marketed for mainstream audiences, I think it was pretty good. I think it leaves out a lot of the nuances that me and you probably know about the Walkouts and how they got, like, they don't get into any of like the precursor to the Chicano youth liberation, like they don't get into the precursor of the Brown Berets. They just, everything's just like already there happening when the movie is set, right? And so you don't get a sense of how things start, which I think audiences that aren't familiar with the Chicano movement and what was happening with the students might miss a lot of the nuance and might not get some of the things that are going on. But I mean, overall, I thought it was a decent picture. So.
Yeah, it lacked most of the cheesiness that comes with Chicano movies, like the feel-good Chicano movies. There's always like that layer of cheese. And this one, you know, it still has those aspects, but still, you know, where else are you going to see a freaking movie with, you know, that kind of cachet behind it,
right? About
Chicanos, about Chicano Walkout, about the Chicano movement. I do remember the one scene in that movie, though, that I really liked was when, and I got chills watching it, when the students are running through the halls.
Walk out.
Pounding on the doors.
Right.
I thought that was really well done.
Yeah.
And Michael Pena plays Sal Castro, doesn't he?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So it had a good cast. And I don't know, I got to revisit it. I think I'm going to make that a point during this off time, because I'm not working on that project in my hated Las Cruces, but for like a week. So I think I'm going to make it a point to watch the Brown Buffalo documentary, and I'll probably rewatch Walkout. But what I really think is important about this story is just how it started out so small and then just caught fire. And then everybody started just joining in. Like it gives me hope to know that our people did that. And then we look at like the protests, you know, going from Prop 187 all the way up to, you know, the No King stuff and the anti-ICE stuff. Like there's still that need for this, to, you know, this kind of activism.
What do you say to people? Because I know that there is a contingent of folks out there who are I don't want to generalize, but I feel like a lot of these people who make these criticisms are what we used to call slacktivists, right? Who sit behind a computer and they talk a lot of noise and have a lot of things to say, but you know, when it comes down to it, they're not out on the streets doing stuff. But like, what do you say to a contingent of folks that belongs to that category who are saying, "Where's the Chicano leaders today? How come they're not doing more? Blah 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 blah." It's like, well, okay, well, what are you doing? First of all, like, let's find out what you're doing first before we get
Let's
into
back that truck up a little bit.
So how do you respond to folks like that? Like, what is your answer? Because I mean,
well, I think they're just not paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, they're not paying attention, but to a degree, there might be a little bit of not being plugged into the right circles, maybe.
Yeah,
not knowing what's really going on out there.
Yeah, because this whole idea, like, well, where are the Chicano leaders? Where are the Chicano activists? I'm like, well, I talk to them all. They're friends of mine, like, and they're still doing stuff. And I think it is part of it is not being plugged in to what's actually happening in your community, right? And it's easy to sit behind a computer and complain.
Right.
Meanwhile, there are Chicano leaders in the community. It's all localized. Maybe they're thinking that there's this lack of like a singular national leader who's going to like rally everybody. Yeah. But the Chicano movement never really had like a singular leader anyway.
I mean, you had what they used to call the four horsemen of the Chicano movement. Yeah. You had Jose Angel Gutierrez, Corky Gonzalez, Cesar Chavez, and your favorite guy,
Reyes
Lopez Tijerin. but they never like were part of one singular action, right? Like they all had
and they all had a different focus, something else that they were focused on.
But it was collectively all part of the broader Chicano movement, right? Like you had the student walkouts as one aspect of it. The farm worker movement was a different aspect of it. The college, you know, they had their own version of the student activist movement. And then just the political, right? La Razonida Party was the political aspect of it.
And then land rights
with Tijerina. So it just depends on what you're looking at and the people that you are connected to. It's like what we've been saying since this all started. Like, you have to find your people in your community. You know, go meet up with them, find out who they are, find out what they're doing. And if no one's already doing a thing that you are interested in doing, then maybe you need to find people that might be interested in starting something, and you can be that quote-unquote leader.
You're the catalyst.
Right? You be that catalyst, exactly, of what needs to take place. Don't wait for the saviors, right? Like, you are You know, how's that saying go? We are the people we've been waiting for, or something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Right. So don't wait for someone else to do the action for you. You take the action. If you feel like there's an action that needs to take place, then do it.
And honestly, I think part of that criticism also comes from there's a little bit of haterism and jealousy coming from some of these people.
Really?
I think so.
Okay.
I think some of these people are like, man, you know, like they just have like some weird Chicano self-hate going on, and they just like to hate on people. Like, well, they're not doing anything, you know. Where are all these so-called badasses now? But they like stay within their little bubble.
Yeah.
And they don't go out and actually get involved. I mean,
Exactly.
the echo chamber, and it takes actually going out into the community and engaging and getting involved. And hey, look, you'll meet all of the Chicano leaders and the community activists, and they're all out there doing work, man. Like, what, you think they're going to come to your house, like knock on your door? Hey,
knock, knock, knock. We're with the Chicanos taking action. You want to join?
Yeah, heard you were looking for us.
The word on the street.
Word on the street is we don't exist.
We don't exist.
First rule like they're going to be Jehovah's Witnesses or something.
You don't talk about Chicano Fight Club.
Right. You just broke the rule. But yeah, I think it's a mix between not plugged in, not paying attention, and then some of it is just self-inflicted ignorance, like just
being
some
slacktivist.
Yeah. Because it's easy, right? It's easy to talk shit and point out what's wrong and what you think needs to happen.
Right. Without actually doing anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it gets a little frustrating. Luckily, you know, here in New Mexico, there's a lot of like this legacy of Chicanismo and the Chicano movement that it's not hard to get involved.
To find a place.
It's to find the place, a group, a place, whatever it is you're interested in.
Yeah.
Whatever aspect of the movimiento interests you and that you want to plug yourself into, it's here. And I had that experience growing up here and in Southern Colorado. And then when I lived in Texas, it was easy to plug in. You know, Michelle and I found a community right off the bat to plug into and start doing stuff.
I mean, you were in Fort Worth and you literally found danzantes in Dallas that you plugged in with and you would do ensayo and danzan ceremony with, right? So where there's a will, there's a way. Tienes que tener ganas. That's, you know, that's what it is. You got to have the will and the desire to do these things. Otherwise, you're just bumping your gums, as we used to say, right?
Flapping the lips. There's a great book about the Chicano Walkouts, and I meant to have it right here on my desk.
Which
so
one?
I can
There's
safely
several.
wrote it. Yeah, hold on. Let me grab it.
Okay.
So this one in particular is the one that I drew heavily from while researching this episode. It's called Blowout, Sal Castro and the Chicano Struggle for Educational Justice.
Okay.
And it was written by Mario T. Garcia and Sal Castro. So really cool book. It's an easy read and super informative. So anybody out there, dear listeners, if you want to know more about this, I highly recommend this book.
And the thing about the walkouts is that they did start, at least the Chicano high school walkouts start. I believe the first ones were in East L.A., right? 60, started in 67, 68, right? And so by 69, you already have walkouts taking place all over the Southwest. And in South Texas, we had students walking out in a little town just outside of, I want to say it's Harlingen. There's a little town, I'm blanking on the name of it, but it happened after the East L.A. walkouts, but it was around the same period. You had students in Crystal City, for instance, who also walked out. And in 69, I have a little poster from the play that the Caramia Theater did back in 2022. Very, very well produced play about the students organizing, and then how Jose Manuel Gutierrez comes in, because at that point he was already in college, and he had already organized Mayo and was in the process of organizing La Razonida party. And so he comes, because he's from Crystal City, born and raised, and he hears about what the students are doing, and he comes down and he's helping them organize. And so it's this walkout fever just spreads all over the Southwest, wherever the Chicanos were experiencing racism and oppression at the high school level, and they got wind of what was going on in different areas. They started their own walkouts, right? So I'm sure that you have stories that you could probably share about what was going on in Albuquerque or New Mexico or Southern Colorado. And I'm sure that there are stories from Arizona. Of course, we had Corky Gonzalez, out there. So this isn't just, I think usually the East L.A. walkouts get attention because for some reason, when people think of the Chicano movement, it's always kind of focused on the West Coast, and especially
it gets tied a lot to California, LA specifically.
Right. And there's a reason for that. I'm not going to get into it, but it has a lot to do with the media and the fact that, most of the material that the media and that, for instance, Hollywood or just entertainment has at its disposal happens to be on the West Coast. So it's easy to just tap into that and just focus on those stories. But there was walkouts going on all over the place, and they didn't end in the 60s and 70s. Like I was saying at the start, like in the 90s when we had the resurgence of the Chicano movement here in Dallas, we organized various schools the same way that they did over in East L.A. We organized various high schools, and we all walked out on the same day, and we convened and converged at the DISD headquarters, which used to be located just outside of downtown Dallas on Ross Avenue, like maybe about a mile from downtown, and students from all over the various high schools around Dallas convened there, and we had this huge demonstration. And I'm not sure how many students, but by my estimates, it was several thousand, if not maybe between 3,000 to 5,000 students who had walked out and convened at the headquarters of what was then the DISD headquarters on Ross Avenue. And it got pretty violent because Dallas has always had police officers on horseback, and so to control the crowd, they send in a couple of officers on horseback, and in fact, one of them was trying to get aggressive with the students, and the students dragged them down and started kicking them. So that was pretty crazy. I think that was probably the most extreme from that specific walkout. And then after that, they brought in the paddy wagons and started to disperse the students, and several students were arrested. But there was no charges, and because I think back then, if I remember correctly, because I was there, we were walking out for a lot of teachers were being laid off, and the majority of them happened to be Black and brown teachers who were getting the pink slip, and so a lot of us were upset because some of our favorite teachers were being let go for no reason. I think the ISD had a budget shortfall that school year, and they needed to cut back and cut corners. And they decided to let go some of the Black and brown teachers. And we organized, we said, hell no, you're not going to do this. And sure enough, the power of the people, the power of students and the community goes a long way in these kinds of things. And they ended up not firing these teachers and finding other ways to address the budget issue that they had going on at the time.
That's badass.
Yeah.
Well, in Los Lunas High School, I was already out of high school at this point. So this was in the 90s. I dropped out in 91, I think. There was the Mexicano students. There was a teacher there, and she was calling the Mexicano students animals. And she was from somewhere in South America, this teacher. But she was she had a problem with Mexicans. And she would note how these Mexican animals. And so the students themselves organized a walkout, and we found out about it and started working out ways to support, the walkout. And so they planned it 100%. they carried it off, and they met at the school district, like the board, the headquarters in Los Lunas, and basically took over the building. And they called us in. I was with Mecha at the time and some people from La Raza Unida Party and other community organizers, like all showed up in support of these students. And we were like, well, what do you guys want to do? And they asked, they were like, let's have a teach-in, who could teach us about our history? Who could teach us about this? Who could teach us about this? So one guy who was a musician went in there and like played old corridos for them and like taught them the history of corridos. I did a thing on like Chicano history and identity. And then, some land rights people went in there and just like gave a short history of land in New Mexico. And it was like this really, really powerful moment. And the news was there, and, like the community, some of the restaurants that were owned by Mexicanos in Los Lunas just sent trucks of food. Mm-hmm. They're like, just feed the students. And so they showed up, they fed them lunch and dinner. And once the cameras left, the cops came in and just started beating the hell out of everybody. Wow. And so I still have like all of the old newspaper clippings and like I have this whole folder, full of physical in my file cabinet of everything that went down. Mm-hmm. And then just like the weird right-wing response to it.
Of course.
About how these Mexican flags don't belong. Because, a lot of the kids were marching holding Mexican flags. And they're like, these flags don't belong here and blah, blah, blah. But I've always thought it would be cool to like compile all that stuff in some meaningful way and like put it out into the world. Because I don't think a lot of people know about that.
Right.
I don't even think, I'd be surprised if anybody in Los Lunas High School even talks about it happening today, now in 2025.
This reminds me of a book that was published a few years ago by one of the leaders of the Dallas Brown Berets from the 60s and 70s here in Dallas. And he published a book about his recollections in the movimiento and as a Brown Beret. And in that book, he includes newspaper clippings from the time that he kept, because he kept a journal, and he also kept like a scrapbook. And in that, and he's in his notebook, he's documenting the various cases of police brutality around the state of Texas and across the Southwest. And I remember flipping through it, and like, he's got the famous cases. He's got Santos Rodriguez. He's got the one from Houston. God, I always blank on his name. That led to that big riot and the Chicano squad. Crap, I'm gonna forget. So but he's documenting the cases of police brutality, not just in Dallas and Texas, but he also has cases from New Mexico and from as far as California that he includes. And when he published this book, he includes some of those, and he includes his notes that he was taking at the time, documenting the various, and he would date it, on this day, March 31st, 1973, such and such incident happened with the police and Chicano was killed. And like, he's got this whole list, right? So that, if you have if that's probably something that you could do too, if you have all these clippings from the period, and if you wanted to put something out, I don't know, like how much material you have to make like a book or a pamphlet or something, but
like a zine,
like a zine,
little chapbook or something.
That would, and you could share it, and people at least have access to it so that they know about what happened at Los Lunas and the walkouts.
Yeah, there's
Joe
all
Campos
these.
Torres. That's his name.
What was his name? I'm sorry.
Joe Campos Torres from Houston.
And that was the origins of the whole Chicano squad.
Well, it was after that, but it was related to that whole incident. Yeah.
That's another documentary I haven't seen yet.
You haven't seen it, dude?
No, I haven't seen Chicano Squad yet.
You should have watched it when it came out.
I'm always out of town. I think when it came out, I was on a camping job, so there was just like no chance of catching it. Yeah. But I mean, it's streaming right now. I have no excuse.
Who's streaming it?
I saw it. It's on my saved. You know how you could like tag stuff to be on your list to watch. So it might be Amazon or I don't know, or Netflix. It's one of those the big ones. But so Chicano Squad, Walkout, and the Brown Buffalo documentary.
Brown Buffalo. Have you seen, speaking of documentaries, the one they did on the death of Ruben Salazar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on how they concluded their assessment at the end?
It was, I don't know. It's kind of like official story, right? Like they couldn't, we don't want to say that the cops deliberately, shot him.
Really?
But
is that what you're going to go with?
Are you sure about that?
Yeah. All these Chicanos over here are mistaken, right? But the official...
Yeah, the eyewitnesses that were in
I was pretty disappointed with that documentary, to be honest. I mean, it was well made and there's a lot of information, but their final assessment, I was like, are you serious? This is what you're going with? Okay.
Yeah. But, so Moctezuma Esparza, I met him the same night that I met Corky Gonzalez. And it was at an event here in Albuquerque. So that was really cool. Corky had already had a stroke, so he wasn't really engaging with people.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to be like all, like trying to, fanboy out over him. But this was in the days before, if you didn't have an actual camera with you, you weren't getting a freaking picture. So
right.
I didn't have a camera, and nobody there had a camera. Nowadays, everybody has a full freaking video production studio in their pocket. But there's a lot of these encounters where I'm like, damn, I wish I'd had like the technology then, or just a camera at the time. To record
a local
this.
group a few years ago brought in Carlos Montes and to the Oak Cliff Cultural Center on Jefferson. And so I attended and I took my camera and I live streamed it on my old Facebook. Was it my account or was it the Tales from? I think it might have been the Tales from Atlantis account. I don't know if it's still up because I think Facebook went in and deleted a lot of video or something that didn't have like enough viewership, or I don't know what it was. Anyway, but yeah, so I got a chance to meet Carlos Montes and the group that invited me to speak not that long ago on the Chicano Movement. They know Carlos Montes and they're some of the people that are with that group now were part of the original group that brought him down to speak the first time, and so they want to get him back, and they're thinking about doing another event where they have him and myself and another person talking about the Chicano movement. So I think that would be great, to be alongside Carlos Montes talking about the Chicano movement.
Right? Man, we should
include it in that conference. Like, yeah, can you speak alongside Carlos Montes? I mean, it's like, wow.
Should turn it into a live episode of.
We should, if I had people here willing to come on and help out, but I don't. So, I'm all alone.
All alone.
All alone in this world.
Yeah, man. So, I was going to ask you, what are your plans for Thanksgiving?
Thanks for taking my land. Well, my brother always does a thing, so we might be going to his place. And my mother-in-law, she does the lunch. Thanksgiving lunch, and then my brother does the Thanksgiving dinner. So by the time we get to my brother's, I'm already stuffed, and I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah, well, what we do is we spread it out over the week.
Okay.
So we started last night.
Yeah.
And then, there might be another one. And then on, like, Thanksgiving proper, on the actual day, we don't really do anything.
Right. That's the way that I used to do it. I didn't do anything on the actual day, but.
And then on the day after, I think is when we're getting together with my sister. Because, the family's so big that. And I don't really care about the day itself.
Right.
But, feasting itself is indigenous. So I'm not going to let people shame me out of getting together with my family and my friends and enjoying a good meal. So we just kind of spread it out over the week. Because before,
shame on you, Curly.
It was
How dare.
Yeah. Before it was like you just said, lunch and then dinner number one, and then you'd pack up and you'd go to the next house and dinner number two, and it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
Right. Way too much.
This is way too much. Yeah. And for one of these dinners, my brother had given me an edible to eat, and that thing just, I was hating life, man.
Yeah.
I was not prepared for the raw firepower
Wow.
of this edible. So I was just sitting there at Michelle's grandma's house, just like with the universe distorting around me.
Yeah.
And just trying to appear normal.
Wow.
And I called my brother and I'm like, dude, what the hell did you give me? And he's like, oh man, how much of it did you eat? Like, I ate all of it. He's like, oh shit, all right.
You're supposed to chop it up in pieces and take a piece at a time.
Yeah, I didn't know. Literally my first time ever eating an edible.
And now you're addicted.
And now I'm addicted.
Yeah. You are a fiend. You're a dope fiend, sir.
And so my brother just told me, look, just find a quiet spot and try to crash out, because that's all you can really do.
Well,
if you don't want to like be awake and experiencing it.
Being under the influence, we're just going to crash out. I mean, you're not enjoying the experience at that point.
Yeah, I was not enjoying it.
So, yeah.
So I found a room and I went to sleep.
I mean, I'm no expert here, but I've been told that you're supposed to enjoy the experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do?
Not edibles.
Apparently. Well, right on, man. I hope you have a good time with your family and enjoy your meals.
Same. And we hope that all our friends and family and relations, listeners and supporters are alike. Whatever you do, do it safely, and we'll catch you at the next one.
Yes, sir. And remember, the truth, it's like medicine. It doesn't always taste good, but it is always good for you. Timoidase.
Órale. Chicano Power.
Thank you for listening to Tales from Atlantis, a project of the Chimali Institute of Mesoamerican Arts. If you enjoy the show, please consider becoming a Patreon supporter. You can do this by visiting talesfromatlantis.com and clicking Support the Podcast. Your continued support will help keep the podcast ad-free and independent. Until next time, Timoitase.